Nintendo haven't always focused too much on anniversaries over the years, with even major ones like Donkey Kong's 40th slipping by pretty much without a trace. But with the Mario and Pokemon celebrations and almost certainly plenty of Zelda content in the pipeline, there does seem to be a commitment from Japan to really push certain anniversaries, at least as a driver for sales of their broader IP. But why are some anniversaries chosen and others ignored? Will other titles receive big anniversary pushes? And what might this tell us about Nintendo's plans to launch major new IPs in the coming years? Before we go any further, we need to talk about Nintendo's big problem, a real calendar-based difficulty which might affect their future plans. You see, Nintendo's anniversaries haven't exactly been the best scheduled. It's not like they could really plan which games were going to be huge hits as far as it turns out, but an awful lot of the 10-year and even more of the 5-year anniversaries actually fall into a very tight time window indeed. Let's look at them. Super Mario Bros. Launched in September 1985. If you compare all the other franchise debuts with Super Mario Bros., Zelda released just 5 months later, Pokemon 10 years 5 months later, Animal Crossing 15 years and 7 months later, Splatoon 9 years and 8 months later, and that means that the 10-year anniversaries of Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, and Splatoon all fall within a 10-month window, and the 5-year anniversary of Animal Crossing is also in the same 12-month period. It's not even like the other anniversaries are well spaced. Metroid's anniversary is less than a year after Mario's, Pikmin's anniversary is only a year and a month after Mario's 15th, and Donkey Kong's July 1981 arcade debut puts it right in the middle of the pack as well. Then there's Fire Emblem, 5 months before Mario's 5th anniversary, Xenoblade, 3 months before Mario's 25th, while Advance Wars released a few days shy of Mario's 16th anniversary. That's 11 of Nintendo's top franchises with 5-year anniversaries in an 18-month window. Indeed, the only major franchise that has a date outside this window, and even then only by another 6 months, is Kirby, which debuted in April 1992, and perhaps it's not a coincidence, therefore, that Kirby has more frequent anniversary celebrations than most, although some of this is doubtless down to the cooperation and co-ownership of HAL Laboratory. Fire Emblem, who Nintendo owns with Intelligent Systems, also tends to have at least some kind of acknowledgement of anniversaries as well. With the anniversaries in recent years, Mario's 40th being a case in point, we've seen a clear pattern for how Nintendo likes to organise these things. There's an announcement including a number of games, a lot of merchandising, and possibly other wider IP engagements such as apps, audio-visual content and more. There's a distinctive anniversary branding, and the publicity window lasts about 6 months all told. I expect Mario and Zelda to follow this format, but of course, Nintendo tends to push Zelda's back a little bit to clear Mario's glide path. So even though logically it would make most sense for Zelda to celebrate in February, which is the actual anniversary, it's usually later in the year that we get celebrations from Zelda. Now, celebrating Zelda a year on from Mario keeps it in the same anniversary year and is still broadly on point, but it's just a subtle change. Now, Pokemon is obviously led by the Pokemon Company, and they have no reason not to make the anniversary a year-round focus, and so I think we can treat this as having a separate strategy from the core Nintendo franchises. However, it's difficult to imagine any of the other major Nintendo series, even huge ones like Animal Crossing, let alone smaller titles like Metroid, benefiting from anniversary fever in the same way. Maybe with Animal Crossing they could get away with doing a Zelda and pushing it into the following year. I suspect only the more hardcore of enthusiasts would notice, but since Animal Crossing is a game significantly based around birthdays and events, it might be a little bit more difficult to pull off than in a franchise like Splatoon or Zelda. In general, if Nintendo indulged many other anniversaries, the company would simply end up cannibalizing its own attention. It's a pity really, and you have to suspect that some of these franchises would be used to receiving a little bit more birthday love by now if they had released a year or two later or even earlier. It's probably quite a fringe consideration for other properties now, but if ARMS, Famicom Detective Club, Star Fox or Fossil Fighters ever hit the big time, Nintendo can at least rest assured that their anniversary calendars are pretty much clear. And all this does make me think. We know from Kit and Krista that Nintendo has generally in the past been fairly cool towards anniversaries or events like Mario Day, and sometimes these seem to have been rather rushed affairs. But as time has gone by and as their IP plans develop, they must realise the value of having specific days highlighting their core franchises. Indeed, the Nintendo Today app makes a big fuss of anniversaries specifically, with a dedicated part of the app talking about past events on this day. This does make me wonder whether, if they do develop a new IP, would they actually pay some regard to posterity and try to launch it deliberately outside of that hyper-busy 2025 to 2026 or 5-year increments thereupon window? This may seem ridiculous on the surface, and it kind of is, but games nowadays take years and years to develop, and Nintendo is in a position where it can hold titles back for a long time. Major properties like Splatoon and ARMS were evidently ones that Nintendo aspired to become huge hits, and while only Splatoon has quite broken out in that way, if Nintendo continues to experiment, they can be reasonably confident that eventually something will break out. Given that the anniversary years for Mario and Zelda will have plenty of games in the, well, Mario and Zelda series, there will literally be fewer slots available for releases in those time periods, so there could be a very natural gravitational pull anyway out of these kinds of windows. Plus, if Nintendo's marketing budget is tied up with anniversaries, they may not consider these windows appropriate to launch major new IPs, depending on what they are, of course. Still, I have to wonder, if Splatoon 2 were the first game, would we have got a massive Splatoon 10th anniversary focus being built up for 2027? I think it's quite possible that we would, but of course we didn't get much of anything, as far as I can tell, during 2025 for the 10th anniversary then. So while the 10th anniversary might only bring in a tiny bit more income, Nintendo hoped to celebrate 20th, 25th, 50th, 100th, and collectively all of these opportunities probably add up. It's like if you're playing the lottery, you probably want to at least choose numbers that are popular picks, so that if you do win the jackpot, you won't be sharing your winnings with multiple other people. My hunch, therefore, is that just as September 2025 through spring was for Mario, September 2026 through to the following spring will focus on Zelda, and it's feasible, though a bit unlikely, that they could do something Animal Crossing themed in 2027 as well. Overlapping, we'll have the Pokemon and Kirby anniversaries, and I would guess that from 2030 we'll start to see Fire Emblem also getting more of a nod for the 40th. However, at some point in 2027 or 2028 though, Nintendo are likely to want to try again to do what they did successfully with Animal Crossing, Pikmin, Splatoon and Ring Fit Adventure, and launch a brand new property that they hope will catch on and become a foundation stone for their company for generations to come. And while it probably won't catch on like Mario or Zelda, because, let's face it, what franchises do, if they do have another huge success, at least they will have a clear runway in terms of future anniversaries. Well, until Star Fox hits the big time and eclipses everything else anyway. Speaking of Star Fox, you'll probably want to check out this video on screen for more of how Nintendo could take the valiant Vulpine. Please consider checking out the Patreon as well, plus hyping, sharing and subscribing helps a ton. Thank you so much for watching as ever, and I will see you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.